Number 5.
This happened in Australia roughly about 12 years ago when I was 24. I'm 36 now. I live about an hour or two north of Sydney, and I used to work afternoon and night shift and had to travel by train to and from the city. This particular night, I had just arrived to the station about 15 minutes from my unit block where I lived with my mum, older brother, and 2 younger sisters. Just near the station sits a small shopping centre, a public school, and a daycare just north of that. Sorry, this is important in my story as to give you an idea of the layout of my surroundings. The main road goes past the shops and up around a steepish bend and runs down the other side of the daycare and school and then down past my unit block. So, back to the story. I'm walking home early hours of the morning, and as I walk past the shops, I notice a figure on the loading dock. Thinking it a little odd, as the shops were shut and had no night staff, I kept pressing on to start my uphill walk when I had a huge urge to look behind me. My heart sank as I saw this odd character walking very strangely, stalking me. I say strangely as he had his back pressed to the wall on the shopping centre, just sidestepping while staring at me. I turned and started running up this incline. Mind you, I'm not the fittest guy out there, so it took it out of me as I reached the top of the incline, and now at the front of the daycare centre, at the back of it lays a chain link fence which is a decent height. So I looked back and I couldn't see anyone, so I continued home past the daycare, and again my senses went to overdrive as I heard someone running and scrambling over the chain fence. I sprinted down the road past the school and was now at the main driveway of my unit block, totally out of breath. As I gained the courage to look back up the street, I was in total shock and scared to death of the figure staring at me no more than 10 meters away now. This guy was crazy looking, standing 6'2" or 3, huffing and puffing, gaining his breath from chasing me. He was dressed in black with a greyish beard and hair. The thought of his eyes still chills me to this day. There was so much hate and malice in them. I knew I'd be in big trouble if he caught me. With this, I took off again down the driveway, and as I did, I could see him taking off down a side path that ran beside the school and unit block. But there was an opening in the fence along the unit block that he could enter from that was close to my unit. As I made the mad dash to the unit, I could see my mum awake and in the kitchen. She had seen me bolting to the front door and opened it with me nearly bowling her over. Just as the door shut, I heard something being kicked over near the front door of the unit carport. I grabbed my baseball bat, ran back outside, ready to unleash some pain on this guy, but he was gone. I explained to my mum what had happened, but I never called the cops, which in doing so would make me feel so bad. A week later, another guy making his way home early hours was attacked and stabbed by a guy in dark clothing. He was never caught.
Number 4.
I knew Ofer when I was 18. He was my first boyfriend. When I met him, I didn't like him at first, but my confidence was low, and he gave the impression of a nice guy. I was still a virgin then, and he was nice and patient. With him, no meant no. One day, I asked if he had ever broken the law. He told me that he did, but refused to tell me how. About 2 months together, we broke up. There was no love between us at all anymore. But somehow, he remained my friend. I had many male friends back then, and he was one of them. One day, I had to spend a night in his city, and he shared his single bed with me. It was so nice of him, I thought. In the middle of the night, he sent his hand to my chest, but when I said no, he stopped immediately. He had very high self-control, which surprised me. I actually appreciated it very much as well. When I got married at the age of 22, all of my male friends disappeared one by one, except him. He showed up on my doorstep every time he was in the area and called every year to wish me happy birthday. It was strange that although he always said he was attracted to me, he stayed my friend, even after I was married. He came to see me even more when I got pregnant and was very happy about my pregnancy. The last time we saw each other, he said goodbye, and he looked out of his car and called out to me, "Is it a boy or a girl?" As I said, "It's a girl," he smiled at me, looking very pleased. I did not suspect anything about him. He seemed to be, well, the nicest person ever. A few months later, after I had my baby, my cell phone sent a reminder that it was his birthday. I called him, but he didn't answer. I left a voice message. Days later, I noticed he did not return my call. It was very unusual for him. I called again, but he wasn't available. I began to worry. I decided to write his name in Google in case he was killed or something. But what I saw makes me shiver to this day. He was in prison. It turned out he raped a 5-year-old girl while her and her mother were in another room. The girl screamed and called to her mother, but the mother didn't come for some reason. That girl's mother said that after the incident, the child was constantly asking, "Mum, I called you. Why didn't you come?" This girl tried to commit suicide as well after that. I shudder when I realize now why he was so happy and tightened our relationship when I was pregnant, and why he smiled happily when he heard it was a girl. I hate to think what he was planning to do, that sick bastard. Unfortunately, he was only in jail for 6 years, and now he's free. He was trying to reach me through Facebook earlier, but I blocked him. This is the article of the incident. It's in Hebrew, but you can translate it with Google.
Number 3.
This story, technically, did not happen to me, but I was there immediately after it happened to a close friend of mine when he relayed it to me and his brother. It's a crazy, almost unbelievable story, but the fear in his eyes and the trembling as he told us had me convinced he was telling the truth. He has never been known to make up stories either. For simplicity's sake, I'll tell it just as he told us.
You guys, I'm freaking out. The most fucked up shit just happened. I don't even know what the fuck just happened.
At this point, we calmed him down enough to tell us what happened. Keep note, this is in Minnesota in winter, and we have lots of paths that cut through the woods.
So, I was walking down the path like usual to get home. I get to where the bench is, and the path splits, and I see a girl sitting on the bench by herself, hood up and hands kind of shaking, and she was looking down. I figured it was just a meth head because we always see them around here. But as I passed, even though she was looking down, her head followed me. It seemed bizarre, but I didn't think much of it. But after I got past her about 10 feet, I looked back, and she was gone. There was no way she could have disappeared that fast, and if she did, I would have heard her from the snow crunching. I started to walk faster when I saw two people. They seemed to be older teenage girls with their hoods up. They wore the same outfit, a brown coat and jeans, and they had the same figure, but one was taller than the other by at least 5 inches. I didn't understand why so many people were out. It was cold and almost dark, and you know how we almost never see people in this path, right? I couldn't really see their faces, and I kept my distance. When I got just a few feet away from them, they both looked at me.
My friend paused and could barely make out the words.
And their eyes, they were completely black. No white, no colour, just black. I started freaking out. They didn't say anything, they just kept walking, and I heard them giggle, the creepiest giggle you can imagine. I started walking even faster. I started to calm down a bit. I didn't want to slip on the snow and ice. I was just about to end the path when the most fucked up shit I've ever seen happened. In a big tree with a branch overhanging the path, there were two boys sitting on the branch. Their legs were dangling and their heads were cocked to the side with blank expressions, and they also had completely black eyes. I stopped for a second, not knowing what to do. I couldn't turn back. I was 5 minutes from home. So I walked fast, and as I passed them, one of the boys asked, "Want to come play with us?" in a weird, monotone voice. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's what he said. I began to sprint as fast as I could without slipping, and I heard it again, but this time it was commanded, and they were angry. "Come play with us." I ran all the way here, and I'm never taking that path again. I'll take the damn long way from now on.
None of us knew what to say. Why would he make this up? We were all in a good mood, just waiting for him to get home and start our night of beer, weed and video games. He spent the rest of the night in his room. We just ended up watching some comedy movies to lighten up. As I wasn't there, I'll never know if it's true, but my friend is a big buff 6-foot guy, and I've never seen someone look so shaken up. I'll never forget the fear in his eyes as he told us. And needless to say, we avoid that path now. Number 2. So let me start off by saying I'm 19 years old, about 5'7", and decently built. I've been boxing since I was 10 and started doing MMA when I was 15. So I'm not that big, but I can defend myself just fine. I work at a supermarket and we get some weird customers every once in a while, but nothing like this. I was in the back stocking shelves and I get a call to come up to the front, quickly. I jog up there and see a fellow female co-worker and some guy arguing, like yelling. This dude was probably 60 or so, and he didn't fit the usual description of a creep, but I would soon find out that that was wrong. I go up there with another co-worker, Dane, and we break up the situation. He left and we ask Emily what happened. She told us. He walked up and asked for condoms. She told us that she told the man, well, they would be near the life supplies right over there. Apparently, what the guy said next is what caused the commotion.
Well, you want to help me try some on?
No you fucking creep. That's uncalled for.
Then he ran his hand through her hair, which caused her to snap on him. Myself and Dane tried to comfort her.
He won't be back,
I said reassuringly.
Yeah, if he comes back, he'll wish he didn't.
Nothing happened for the rest of the night. The next day, I saw that creep again and decided not to tell anyone and followed him. Here's what he bought. Duct tape, rope, gas, a pocket knife, a camera, gloves, a notebook, and a pack of Sharpies. After he left, I kind of forgot about it, and at the end of the day, I collected all the carts, and as I was walking to my car with Dane, I saw something in my car. A ticket? Nah, I didn't do anything wrong, and I noticed it was a paper ripped out from a notebook. It read, "Next time, stay out of my business that's not yours. That is, if you ever want to see the sunlight again. You can't stop love." As I was reading it, Dane ran up and told me he had a note on his car as well and showed me the note, and they were the same. We both freaked out.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
I said to Dane. Dane paused for a second, got all red-faced and said,
If I see this creep, I'm gonna fuck him up.
I thought rationally.
Dane, you can't just beat his ass, man. I mean, legally he hasn't done anything wrong. We don't have proof that he wrote this either. I don't give a fuck.
Then Dane got in his car and drove off. Well, whatever. I went back to my apartment and went to bed. The next day, at work, I saw the guy in his car with the camera he bought yesterday. I decided to take the bull by the horns. I tapped on the glass and he looked at me surprised.
Are you taking pictures of Emily, you fucking creep?
Then he floored it out of the parking lot. He almost hit several cars out on the way. The rest of the day, though, was relatively quiet, and after a long day at work, I came back to my small one-bedroom apartment, made dinner, and sat down to watch some TV, when I heard a knock at my door. I instantly thought of that creep, and so I snuck up to my door and look at the peephole, and see nothing. Then a little bit of light, like someone was covering the hole with their finger. I stood motionless near the door, and I hear,
You and I both know you're right behind the door. Come on. I told you not to get involved in my business.
My legs became weak. I felt like I couldn't breathe.
The note on your car? Come on, can't we talk face to face, Matt?
How the fuck did he know my name? I look out the peephole and I see nothing. He must have walked away. I slumped down and wondered what I should do. The next day, I woke up not getting any sleep the last night. Fuck it, I'm going to work, and if he shows up, I'm beating his ass. I was heated. I even stretched before I left, just in case I got into it with this guy. I drive up, walked inside, scanning the parking lot, and saw nothing. After a long day of work, I was walking to my car, and I hear a muffled noise. I looked around my car, and it goes away. But then I heard,
"Help."
and more muffling. I cut around my car and see that creepy fuck, and Emily has her legs tied up and duct tape on her mouth.
What the hell?
I run over and push this freak out of the way. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a pocket knife. Oh shit. Like I said, I've been boxing most of my life, but I've never boxed someone with a knife. He told me to leave and that he would spare me if I did. Fuck no, get out of my face or else, I said, as tough as I could sound. He took his eye off of me for a split second, and that's all I needed. I shot my jab as fast and as hard as I could, then followed up with a cross. The money punch, my coach used to say. I stepped up closer, threw another jab, then an elbow, then my left hand, and then wound up and threw a massive overhand. I caught this fucker square and he dropped. His head hit the concrete, and since he didn't tie up Emily's hands, she was able to rip off the duct tape and untie her shoes, and was screaming for help. Some lady called the cops, and I held this fucker down. The cops came, and they ran his info, and well, this would be the part that you would normally expect to see crimes like kidnapping and rape. But nothing came up. He had no prior history of crime. Emily hasn't shown up to work yet, but I don't blame her. But if I hadn't have heard her muffle scream, I now realise why he bought that stuff earlier. The duct tape to put on Emily's mouth, rope to tie her up, the knife to probably kill her, the Sharpies and notebook for my car, the camera so he could take pictures of her, gloves so his fingerprints would not show, and I'm assuming he was going to take her far away if he needed to, and that's why he bought gas. So, a word of advice. Always be aware of your environment. Number 1. Okay, let me start by saying that I'm a female college student. My school is known for being a big party school, but I'm not really into that. I never have been, even in high school. I never saw the point of it all, but after my last party, I have even more reason not to be. It was my first semester of a freshman year. I'm a chemistry major and met a lot of my friends through various labs and lectures. There have also been a fair share of creeps. I'm really not used to being the center of anybody's attention, as I never have been before and don't really see a reason why I should be. I like having only a few friends and keeping my circle close. I liked being by myself in the background, but still, new state, new rules, and there were creeps. Anyway, one such creep was named Tom. He was in my chemistry lecture, and from day one, he just seemed to be fixated on me. At first, I'd just catch him staring at me when I looked over my shoulder at the clock. He always made sure to sit behind me. I'd smile politely and turn back around, slightly creeped, but nothing super bad yet. Then, after a couple of weeks, he got up the nerve to talk to me. I was raised never to be rude or just ignore people talking to me, so I played nice, even though I wasn't interested. I don't know why I was so against him at first. He seemed nice enough when he talked, but something in my gut told me it was off. I started seeing him everywhere, even when I knew he wasn't supposed to be in class. I tried everything for him to get the hint. I tried avoiding him, moving seats in lecture, shutting down his attempted conversations. Unfortunately, I'm not a very confrontational person, and couldn't find a way to just tell him to leave me alone. And he didn't seem to get the hint either. My friends always teased me and stated that I had an admirer, and I'd laugh along, but it really did unnerve me. He just started inserting himself into my life, and I didn't know what to do. One time, just after Thanksgiving break, I was studying outside at a picnic table, and lo and behold, Tom shows up. He starts asking how my break was and how my family was, if I was happy to be back, and then he asked how Bruno and Riley were. Bruno and Riley are my dogs, and while I love to show them off, I knew for a fact that I had never talked about them to him or showed him any pictures. The rational part of my mind reminded me that Riley was the lock screen on my phone, so he could have at least seen her when I checked the time or something, and Bruno was my wallpaper, so he might have seen him at that point, but how did he know their names? When I asked him, he got nervous and tried to convince me that I'd told him, but when I insisted that I didn't, he made some excuse and walked off. I should have done something then, maybe talked to security or something, but I didn't. I regret to say that I didn't want to. I thought I could handle it myself. I never have been good at asking for help. So, fast forward a little. Tom started getting weird. He kept asking for my number, asking me out, trying to get me to invite him back to my dorm. He got really aggressive. Eventually, I got to the point where my instinctual, well-learned manners went out the window, and I flat out told him, directly, yet gently, as I'm not in the habit of hurting people's feelings, that I was not interested in having a relationship with him, or anyone, right now. He got angry, yelled at me for leading him on, called me names like slut and bitch and whore, and then just stormed off. He started texting me non-stop, telling me how much he hated me, and how I deserved to die. I still don't know how he got my number. I know what you're thinking. Now, she must have gone to the police or security or something, right? No, I was an idiot. I'm not a very confident person as it is, and some tiny part of me felt guilty, like I actually had let him on. I didn't even tell anyone about the texts. I just deleted them all, convinced that if I just ignored him long enough, he'd give up and go away. I was a stupid, naive little 18-year-old, and I just let it happen. Okay, fast forward about a month or so. It's near the end of the semester, close to time for us all to head home for the winter break. My friend Anna had just broken up with her boyfriend, and she and my friend Tori wanted to go out for a drink and take their minds off of things. Tori and Anna are both very petite girls, and, naturally, are incredible lightweights. They've been known to make some terrible choices after just a few beers, so they asked me to come with them and keep an eye on them. I agreed and brought my own water bottle with me so that I wouldn't have to drink anything there. Even the water at these parties made me suspicious. The three of us went to the party, and while Tori and Anna went and got to drinking, I just sat on the couch in the corner and kept an eye on them, taking sips from my water. We'd been there for about 3 hours, and then someone sat down beside me. I look over, and you guessed it, there's Tom. He seems totally hammered already, and he starts talking to me, telling me almost incoherently how sorry he is, and how much he misses me, how he overreacted, how he wishes he could take it all back, and asking if we could hang out later. I refused and told him to leave me alone, but still, he persisted. After another 10 minutes, I saw Anna across the room, stumbling drunk, about to walk off with some guy. I got up from the couch after telling Tom yet again to leave me alone and went over to Anna. I separated her from her new friend, who was not nearly as drunk as her and clearly wanted to take advantage of her. I got Tori and we headed back together. I tried to tell them that we should leave, but they begged me to let them stay a little longer just so that they could dance some more. And there's really no arguing with those two when they're drunk, so I had to let them. When I went back to the couch, Tom was gone. Please note that most of the rest of this story I only pieced together after the fact, as some of my memories are vague at best, and most are just missing altogether. I must have left my water bottle on the couch when I went to save Anna. After I took a few drinks, I started to feel weird. I was super dizzy and shaky, so I decided it was time to go home. I grabbed Anna and Tori, and we left, taking the bus back to the dorm, or at least we must have. When I woke up, I was in my bed, still in my clothes from the night before, and I had the worst headache. I couldn't remember anything at all after I started to feel weird. My roommate told me that I came home around 2, stumbled into bed and passed out, mumbling something about not feeling well. She was surprised as she knew I didn't drink, but just figured I decided to let go a little and had a little too much. I started to realize what happened. Tom drugged my water. I felt sick. I knew Tom was a weirdo, but I never thought he'd be quite so driven. It sent shivers down my spine to think about what he planned to do. And, as if to confirm my suspicions, when I checked my phone, I had a new text from Tom. It said, "Why'd you leave so early last night? I had such a night planned for you." I didn't go out much after that, not just to parties, but to class either. I told my friends and professors I was sick and got the last week's notes from them. After finals and break, I came back and found out that while Tom was stalking me, he was neglecting his classes, and as a result, he flunked out. But still, I haven't gone to a party since then either. G'day mates, it's Buster here. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video guys. Thanks again to the Hive members that shared their stories. And for the chance to have your story feature in a video, you can send your story to my email, which is in the description below. And be sure to keep them coming guys, as this channel relies upon your stories to continue. So just a quick update guys, I just wanted to let you guys know that I've placed a large portion of my videos on private for now. This doesn't mean that they will be set on private forever, but I am going to have to go back and ensure that I have written consent for all of the stories, which kind of sucks, but it has to be done. So if I ever used one of your stories from my videos that you know about and would like to provide me permission, please send me an email and specify which story it was and what your Reddit username is, and some written consent. My email will be in the description below, as I said before. Also guys, there have been a couple of ideas floating around about potentially setting up a website soon with a few of us YouTubers. It's all kind of speculation at the moment, but we thought this might be a nice idea for a few reasons. First, it will give access to smaller channels to gain stories for their own channels. Not every channel has a big enough subscriber base to have stories flowing in all the time, and because we want to make sure the horror narration scene continues to grow on YouTube and the system isn't monopolized, we're hoping this will resolve the issue. Also, I guess it would be a nice place for all of the community to interact together as well, including us narrators. I'm even thinking about posting some of my own stories on something like this and having some of the other narrators tell my stories. I'll keep you guys posted about this, but I just wanted to let you know that there are ideas in motion to ensure that we all continue to share the spooks. So guys, it would be awesome if you could like, share, comment and subscribe if you're new. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll see you mates in the next one.